So today I'm reviewing Disco Dodgeball Robot Roller Derby thingy. I have no idea how to pronounce this game's title. I know it's a joke, but that makes it that it's very, very hard to remember. I know it's a joke, but unintentionally I think it does a disservice to the game. In any case, this game was published almost 10 years ago by one guy, Erik Asmussen. Apparently he did some few other games recently, such as Factory Town a few years ago. Good reviews. Factory Town Idol, which is very recent here, like less than a year ago. Good reviews also. A totally different genre than what we are reviewing today. Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball. He made Factory Town, that was pretty good. Never realized it was the same guy. Well, there you go. He's still doing games and they are apparently good. The thing is, if you take a game like Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball, which I shall call the Disco Ball game from now on. Sadly, this game has an issue, it's the lack of play, but we'll get back to that later. First, let's talk about the graphics or the video. The game is obviously completely on the crazy, sparkly, shiny, disco-y and all that. The game is a bit of a joke. So visually it's neon and if you remember the games or movies like Tron, that's a bit the idea here. As you can see, it's full of lights everywhere. It's not relaxing for the eyes. The idea here is to have something crazy and disco like in nightclub, and it's a party game. So visually there's lights everywhere, colors everywhere. It's hectic, it's action orientated, so that's the point. The game is very smooth. I mean, the game is 10 years old and it's for one guy, it's very smooth, no bug whatsoever. I didn't encounter one single bug. For a game made by one guy and 10 years old, I think it's very well optimized. Good on them for that. Visually, if you're not into the whole, shiny disco light and all that, this is not gonna be your thing. And it goes very fast. The more you play this game, the better you become and the faster the action will go. And so for the eyes, it's quite taxing. It's still pretty. It's still fine for a 10 years old game. Audio wise, music is really cool. I would say at 80%, lots of songs and tracks are very groovy, very dance floorish electronic music. It's pretty catchy. It's supposed to be hectic and you have to feel the action. So music wise, it's pretty cool. There's an announcer, like Unreal, like a multi-kill, that kind of thing. So it's a joke. It's supposed to be fun and hilarious and exciting and action orientated. So audio wise, it's really, really cool. Some tracks might be annoying for some, but that's a question of taste, obviously, because you're in a dance floor, in a nightclub, and there's all sorts of electronic music, so some might be better than others for some players. Still very good music. Now, gameplay-wise, because that's probably the core of the game here. This game is a joke, but at the same time, it works very well. There's a huge concept here. Huge concept? Okay. Not in the sense of a deep concept, right? 10 years ago, you didn't have games such as Rocket League, insanely famous game that took the idea of, hey, we play some kind of sports like football, handball, but it's cars. It was a silly concept and it worked very well. Here, it's the same idea. Hey, dodgeball that you do at school? You're gonna do that, but with robots, and you throw disco balls, and you have to crush people, and you have to do tricks while, you go up a ramp and all that. The gameplay here starts from a silly idea, but it works very well. If you love FPS games, games like Quake, Unreal Tournament and all that, it's a bit similar to that, because basically you go very fast. One click, you snipe one guy, you shoot him down, you've got a KO, you've got a frag, a kill. It's exactly the same concept here. Gameplay wise, it's pretty good. It works. Now, the big issue. If it was just for that, the game would probably be super successful nowadays. A lot of people would still play it and all that. But we reached a big problem here. This game is dead. It costs 15 bucks. You can buy a 4 packs at more than twice the price. And there's nobody playing it. If you look at it now, there's currently one person playing it. One person online. This game is 15 bucks, but you can clearly see here it's a multiplayer game. You need to play this game as a party game, online, with friends, with streamers. It has to be a huge online thing, like a community-based game, like Rocket League, like all these FPS games that are multiplayer competitive. It actually reminds me of the game, I don't know if that game still exists, the game made by the people who did Trackmania and who tried their own multiplayer FPS. Do you remember that game? Does it still exist, that game? There's currently 0 players on Shootmania Storm. That game is also dead. This game reminds me a bit of that. And so that's the problem here. In terms of content, there's no story or whatever, there's no world, it's just a crazy action-oriented multiplayer competitive game. Maybe people got bored. Maybe it's just a small game at the end of the day. If you had the opportunity to play this game, you know, with 2, 3, 4 friends as a team or whatever, it can be hilarious if you're all in the same spirit, in the same wavelength regarding a party game. You can play this game for like an hour and you'll have a blast. Recently, a lot of people are playing games such as Golf with Your Friends, which is a really cool game. Again, multiplayer, you have big laughs, doing nonsense and all that. It's that kind of party game. And what makes the core of a party game, it's its community, if its people are playing it, which is not the case here. There's a single player mode, as you can see me playing here, where basically you play against bots, and then there's waves of enemies, and then there's a boss for the current level and so on. It's very well implemented. Like if you want to have fun by yourself and play against AIs and train with your aim, it works really well. Let's just talk about the price. I rarely talk about price in my reviews, but I think the Disco Ball game shows a good example of what I would think is a bad pricing. If you wanted this game to still be played nowadays, you should have put it for free, or just $2. If this game was free, it would have probably been more famous and would still be alive, maybe. As a disclaimer, I would say I didn't play it multiplayer. I played it by myself against bots like this. I have the hard task to judge this game based on my single player experience. What rating am I giving to Robot, Roller, Disco, Derby, Ball, Blast thing? That game. This is gonna be weird, but I am going to have to give it a thumbs up on Steam, even if I don't think there's a point doing it nowadays. Unless, once again, you have 3 friends, you're like, what do we do tonight? Hey, let's buy that. I still think it's crazy that it would cost you $35 to buy the pack, right? I think it's too much. I would say I might give it a C+. If I was to play with friends, it would be that. I will say it right now. This rating is conditional to playing it with friends. If you can play this game with friends, I would give a C+, 69%. And I'm gonna make it a 69% because with a game called Disco Ball, Robot, Roller, Derby, and you throw balls at people with mustache, you throw your balls and you grab their balls, and sometimes their balls are too hot and you can't grab them because they're hot, right? It's dangerous. And if you turn your back, you might get some balls in the back, you know. With all that kind of humor, I'm gonna give it a 69%. I think it fits the idea here. Silly fun with friends with Robot, Roller, Derby, Disco, Dodgeball, which is a C plus 69%. That's my review.